What's the odds? We've always got odds in life. There's always something much bigger, better, greater than what we really anticipate. Truth be told, observing our little planet Earth, which is a mere little pixel, a blue dot in the universe, which is almost, so to say, insignificant. And at times I make my problems far greater than that pixel. So I'm going to share a short and direct little video with you today. Looking at the world and the condition and the circumstances we found in right now, it's very difficult to comprehend it all. We're constricted, we're deprived, and we're forced to do things because the so-called law says we must do it. And to abide by that and to keep our backsides out of prison, we therefore abide by it, which may be a good thing. It may have its pros and its cons, but be that as it may, I'm going to give you an example of a story I read a couple of years ago. I can't remember who the author is. I was actually very young. But the story goes in brief as follows. There was a farmer, and this farmer was a rabbit farmer. And he had approximately 10,000 rabbits on his farm at that stage. And on a particular day, his wife went into town to do some shopping. And she returned with a wonderful surprise for her husband. It was a puppy dog. How sweet. Oh, so playful. And he was delighted. And they accepted this little puppy and gave it attention. But the life of this little puppy on this rabbit farm, with a population of 10,000, was kind of misleading, intriguing, confusing, overpowering. Because there came a stage in this little dog's life that he looked around and he saw all these rabbits and he thought that he was a rabbit, but he realized that he doesn't hop. He's also got 4 paws. He walks and runs and jumps, but he doesn't hop. Doesn't bounce around like a rabbit. And to fit in, he unconditionally actually came to the conclusion that I've got to hop, because all these folks around me seem to be very happy and they're hopping all over the place, so let me hop and be happy. Wow. And so it happened. Now, what is the moral of the story? Well, it's a very short story, but it's got a very complicated meaning. And now I'm now taking the story and applying it to my life. Okay? I am Frank Gerard Weldon. I'm one human being. But I'm surrounded and bombarded, well, let's say surrounded, with 10,000 of the same sort. Not the same as I. For argument's sake, let's say, this is just an example. Please don't crucify me for this. Let's say the rabbits were Christians and the puppy dog was an atheist. And the same happens to me in my life. I'm surrounded with the circumstances which is universal, which is overpowering, and I'm led to believe that I must fit in. I must do the same as what everybody is doing. And what is everybody doing? Is everybody doing the same thing? No, obviously not. We're 7.6 billion people on the earth, and if we do the mathematics with the 1 and the 10,000, I think as a human being it's far greater than that. The influence which things have, which I perceive and hear, has got a vast effect on me as a human being. And I take everything at face value. And most of all, I'm very naive. I believe people quickly. I give in to people and I'm compassionate. And I've been bitten in the backside more times than I care to remember. However, what am I going to do? I cannot ignore the world. It is good to know what is going on, and that's a fact. There's no doubt about that. But it's not so healthy psychologically, spiritually, taking it from a Christian point of view, to so easily give in to what surrounds me. You know, there are so many intellectuals today with so much wisdom, spiritual teachers and gurus, and I've seen people follow them, and I follow the video, and they go to these, it's like an introduction into consciousness. They go on a training course. They go follow them with seminars, and it's a whole week of seminars. And then they finished with A, then they go with B, and finish with B. After another dozen sessions, they go with C and D and E, and eventually, what do you get the pattern? I start jumping like a rabbit from one spiritual teacher to another, from one preacher to another, from one atheist to another, from one day to another. I start to hop around like a rabbit. When I think back of the story, I can't remember, but the question comes to mind. I wonder if that dog didn't start eating damn carrots at the end of the day. And digging burrows in the ground. Most probably did. It's quite capable of doing it, because he was overpowered to such a degree he had no alternative. So, what I'm trying to bring across is that I refuse to allow the influences which is outside of me to come into me and change my way of thinking. Speaking of thinking, we speak of a mind. Speaking of a mind, how often do I change my mind? How often do I change my mind which is not beneficial unto me? If I had just kept my initial thought and not changed my mind, I wouldn't have had the problem. Sometimes I don't change my mind and I'm sitting with a problem, and I should have changed my mind. This is the way I go along and get along and deal with the things which come to me from all conceivable angles. It's not as bad as what it sounds. What I'm trying to bring home and trying to drive into the very essence of me, Frank, that I am a human being. And it's time that I start to become human. It's no good just being a human being. Start to become human. And because I'm so naive, I take things at face value. I first step back and listen. I'll give you an example. What really irritates the living daylights out of me is when I know people who have admitted that what they're doing is wrong. You know what? They make no attempt to change it. Then those very same people come to me and say, Frank, sir, could you please give me advice on my relationship with my wife, or between my wife and my child? And I say, no. They say, but you've done it before. I say, no. Why do I say no? Because I know that that which I'm going to give you, you're not going to implement. You're not going to practice it. I know that. You're not going to do it. So the moral of the story, you know what? At the age of 68 years old, actually I should say young, you cannot change people's personality. You cannot rectify, rewrite their upbringing as a child. You cannot do that. It's impossible. Unless a miracle happens, and miracles will never cease to happen. They do happen. But in general, you cannot change another human being. I often do it, but I don't want to overdo it. As you can see, I've been around the block a couple of times. I was born in the 1950s in the Orange Free State in South Africa. My way of life and upbringing was primitive. It was hard. It was tough. But we got along. Our friends were genuine. Our friends we saw. We didn't message our friends. Family were close. Discipline was in place. Sometimes it irritated the living crap out of me. But today I am grateful to my late mom and dad for giving me, teaching me principle. So what am I going to do about this now? How are we going to get our mathematics under control? What is the solution to the equation of the odds being 10,000 to 1, which is you and I, or you or I? In all truth, you and I are not separate. In all truth, we can never be separated from our Creator. In all truth, there is only one God, one Creator. Now, I'm not going to preach. My Bible is quite close at hand, but I'm not going to do that. The essence of what I'm trying to convince myself in doing is to say the following, at least if I look inside myself. I am a human being trying to be human. I know that I have failed many a times, but that is the past. I'm going to confront what I see. I'm going to put it on hold or pause and examine it. And then I'm going to ask myself the question, now who the hell is myself? My self. The self in me. The being. The life in me. Am I going to subject myself to this pandemic current circumstance which is universal. Because it's affecting everybody, so it's going to affect me. No, I'm not. I'm not. And now, I'm going to switch roles. You, my dear friend, watching this video, you are unique. You are perfect. You are according to plan. You are wonderful. You are the light. You are life. Jesus Christ said to his disciples, I am in the Father is in me, and we have made an abode within you. We are one. So we're all reflecting different shadows of experience being experienced by our Creator. Now, to all Christians, that would make sense. To an atheist, it wouldn't make sense. But the time has come that Christian, atheist, agnostic must come to terms with who and what they are. I must say, if it was not for Christianity, there would be no atheist. And there's nothing wrong with an atheist. There's nothing wrong with an agnostic. There's nothing wrong with a Christian. But it's the friction in between. And here my mind goes to Sadhguru. I think he's a wonderful, intelligent, wise man. He said if you take the machinery of the days when I grew up in the 50s, it was big monster machines making terribly loud noises with a lot of friction and heat, and he says today it's streamlined. You get an electric car. Look at your phone, your smartphone in your hand. Do you remember the first one that came out? It was like a brick that you were holding against your ear. It's smooth. Programs run. They run, and everything is achievable on the internet. Everything. Anything you want, it's there. But to eliminate the friction, which my perception allows me to carry and to harbor on, that's where the problem comes in. But we are unique. We are God's creation. So, as what? We've got opposites in life. It's only normal that there will be a believer and a non-believer. A up, a down, a hot, a cold, a bitter, a sweet, a long, a short, whatever you want to call it, there is an opposite. Opposing. Sometimes it becomes a dichotomy. If perhaps you're listening to me right now and you are confronted with disappointment, feeling neglected, feeling powerless, feeling you have no value to life, perhaps in pain, with over a loved one, over one that has been stricken with illness or disease, I honestly hope that I could inspire you to come to the point of stillness within the self of you. This is very, very important. But there must also be a point in my life where I must stand up and say, this is who I am. And what I am saying, I have the freedom of speech, is the truth. It's not a lie. What I'm telling you is the truth. And now begs the question, How come when I speak the truth, I get a negative feedback? Well, you know what? Listen to this for a moment. This is a quote that I've got in my book of Proverbs. If I do everything that you do unto me, you become offended. Now I'm speaking of a verbally abused, threatened family member. If I do everything unto you exactly as what you do unto me, you become offended. Why? Why can you dish it out, but you cannot take it? So let's draw the line. I don't go out of my way to be in company with people that don't look at me in the eye because they're entertaining their own ego. I don't go out of my way to be in the company of people who can influence me in a negative way. I don't go out of my way to be in company of people who want me to say what they want me to say. What they want me to say. I say what I want to say. And this is what my late father taught me, and my mother. You can say whatever you want to, as long as you speak the truth. Speak the bloody truth. Do not lie, Frankie. Do not lie. My father, quite often, when I rebelled against him to my regret. I was out of control. My mom couldn't, because I was bigger and I could move faster and get away and try and convince her psychologically that what I've done was right. Didn't always work. My father would say to me, if you tell me the truth, my boy, it could spare you stripes. And that truth became very valuable to me. Yet I lied as a child. I lied unto him and to my mother, to my regret, but it's past, it's over. The fact is, have I learned from the situation? That is important. So, guys, long story short, whether you're outnumbered with 10,000, 10 million, 10 legion, remain standing. Do not fear. You are the power. You have the ability to overcome. One of the books in the Bible says, I will place your feet upon a rock and you shall look down upon your enemy. I'm using the word enemy. I don't mean enemy as in today. But believe in yourself. Trust yourself. Reveal yourself. I'll take an example. If we protest in peace, our voices will be heard. If we protest unpeacefully, we're not going to be heard, but seen and criticized, and perhaps become injured in the whole process. I'm not saying withdraw. I'm not saying lock yourself up in a room, don't put the light on. What I am saying is, I'm on a rabbit farm and I've got to decide, am I going to hop or am I going to run and jump according to my nature, according to my instinct, according to the genes within me. And if my memory serves me correct, I seem to look quite human, maybe a bit tattered and torn and worn out. And ever since the beginning, there were human beings. And we are human beings. We are far more advanced. But when I look at the scale, of truth, of justice, of empathy, of compassion, today the scale tilts to the unfavored side. But be not dismayed. Don't give in. You are precious. You can do it. And so can I. So, this is my short discussion for today. I hope that you enjoyed it. And please be so kind as to like and subscribe and to ring the bell somewhere. I'm not all clued up with the technology. Your comments can encourage me. It truly can, to do better than what I'm doing right now. If you do not find favor in what I'm doing, tell me. I won't be offended. You can't offend me. If I offend you, my dear friend, I'm offending myself. That's the bottom line. So let's stand together. Let's unite, whether it be in thought, in prayer, in meditation, or whatever. Let's not give up. Life is precious. The oxygen we breathe in is life. And God blew the breath of life into the nostrils of Adam. Life. So, thank you so much. You know the drill. Please support me so we can grow together. And I really enjoyed being in your company. So, God bless and bye-bye.